All right, so the Impact Grand Championship. What the fuck? I mean, seriously, what is this? I mean, this is unbelievably ridiculous. I don't fault TNA for trying to rebrand themselves and make things new. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you need to do in wrestling, any wrestling company. But this is ridiculous. And here's why it's ridiculous. The King of the Mountain Championship was already ridiculous. You should have kept it the TV title. The King of the Mountain title, the reason that the name meant nothing is because by then, that whole King of the Mountain match had meant absolutely shit. So whatever, okay. Impact Grand Championship, they do this. It's replacing the King of the Mountain title. All right, cool. New standard Impact rules, according to Billy Corgan. This is according to spoilers. So, yes, spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't read them. But Impact always has spoilers because they tape so far in advance. There are going to be 3 time limit rounds during the match. Basically, that's what the match is going to be. So it's going to be MMA style. Even though Japan has done stuff like this in the past, Japan did it better because they had a deeper roster. So 3 time limit rounds, and should it go the distance, you're going to have judges decide who wins. First off, this isn't boxing. This is not MMA. Stop trying to be like those sports. Especially stop trying to be like MMA. Just because Lashley's a 2-sport athlete, even though he's not really any good at either of them, while he's a freak athlete, he's been decent in MMA at best, and no matter how much they try to push him in wrestling, he wasn't that good in WWE. TNA's used him better. I give them credit for that. But I don't really personally care for Lashley. I think the guy, besides, having a good physique and having some good athletic ability, that's really it. The guy has no charisma at all. And sounds like his voice is not developed beyond puberty. But whatever. Basically, the whole thing is now the MMA-inspired rules. Since Lashley had both the X Division and the TNA Heavyweight Championship, and just won the King of the Mountain Championship from James Storm, who, by the way, is done with TNA, reportedly, and will probably be going back to NXT, which is about time. I mean, I guess that whole 2-year deal didn't work out. I guess now that Lashley's got all those 3 titles, King of the Mountain Championship done, 8 men are going to compete, and new champion's going to be crowned and bound for glory. Okay, whatever. I think the idea behind a new championship isn't a bad thing. I don't see this going well, though. Timed rounds, not any good. It's one thing to do a TV championship and have 15-minute time limit like they used to do in WCW and they used to do in other companies. There's nothing wrong with that. But doing this where it's like going to be timed rounds, they're wrestlers, they're not MMA fighters. Some might have some good, background trained amateur wrestling, stuff like that. You got to stick with the entertainment aspect of it. Don't try to make it real. Even though they do suffer real injuries, take real bumps, and they do, take real impact, pardon the pun, this is not MMA. So do not try to make it like that. So anyway, that's my take on the Impact Grand Championship. Now I'm going to talk about Billy Corgan as the new TNA president. Now, this is divisive among a lot of people. There are a lot of people that don't know that he has a background, at least running a small company in Chicago called Resistance Pro Wrestling, that apparently did pretty well. I obviously never saw any of it because I was not in the Chicago area, never have been, probably never will be. But Billy Corgan, obviously a lifelong fan, seems to actually know at least enough about wrestling, seems to have a good interest in the product. Him being the president, though, people are like, oh, changes will be coming, changes will be coming. The problem is, he's not the owner of the company. Now, sure, he's the president. Dixie's still the chairman or chairwoman or whatever you want to say. So ultimately, she makes the decisions. It's like in WWE, Vince is still the chairman of the company. Everything ultimately ends up with him. So ultimately, anything that is good or bad goes through him. Now, sometimes he'll listen to the right people, but it's ultimately his company. Same with Dixie. Dixie is ultimately her company. So maybe Billy Corgan can put some positive change on that. I don't know. I'm not necessarily sold on it because I think TNA still got their money issues. Even though they brought in guys like Sandow, who's now Aaron Rex. Rumors that they might go after Cody Rhodes, even though I think Cody's going to go to Ring of Honor and wrestle other indies, maybe wrestle in Japan, which would be a smart move for him. People say they should bring in Ryback. Why? They don't need Ryback. They need people that actually can wrestle. Ryback's in. Barrett pretty much said in interviews that if he wanted to be in wrestling, he would have stayed in WWE, so he's taking a break. So who knows what's going to happen with TNA? But this is just my brief take on it, because personally, I think the Impact Grand Championship just the idea behind it, the time limit rounds is not a good thing. TNA president, Billy Corgan, good, but Dixie's still ultimately, the chairwoman. So it's ultimately her decision on everything that goes down. If she's going to actually let Corgan make some decisions, maybe he'll make some better decisions with talent. Maybe he'll influx some money, some of his money in there, which apparently he's done very well with Smashing Pumpkins and Resistance Pro Wrestling and other investments that he's made. So if they have the right, amount of people, right amount of good people that is behind them, then this could work. This could work. But I said that Impact can turn around for a couple years, or I've said I hope they turn around for a couple years, and they haven't yet. They've gotten a little better. Their TV product, what little I've seen, isn't bad, except for the final deletion. That was ridiculous, and they're not necessarily using some talents correctly. But they have some young talents where, yes, they could be seen as stars. The problem is they're relying on a lot of veterans that really can't move anymore, like the Hardys. So hopefully maybe Bound for Glory will turn it around, and we'll see where Impact goes from there. So anyway, that's my take on it. Let me know what you think. Follow me on Twitter, @RebornAgain, REBOURNE again, and I'll see you.